Coaches, ask yourself this one question. What do names like Brené Brown, Jay Shetty, and Mel Robbins really owe their success to? Now, you may be thinking best-selling books, viral podcasts, or even a polished personal brand, but it's none of those. What they've actually built is a community-powered movement, a conscious cult, as I like to call it. And that is why their clients buy everything they create, even when what they're saying has already been said, even by you. That movement is what's allowed them to create a business and a life completely on their terms. Now, what if I told you that you could build your own conscious cult, a movement so potent, so magnetic that it does all the selling for you? No sales calls, no following up, no awkward DMs. And I've done this twice. First with a men's community called The Modern Man, which I grew to 6 figures and 55 men in my first year. And now with the Elevated Coaching Collective, a community that's making me multiple 6 figures with just 4 hours of delivery a week, all from an audience of just 600 people on my email list. Now that is the power of a micro movement. And today I'm going to show you the exact formula they are all using so you can build your own conscious cult and lead a movement that sells for you. Now, make sure you stay till the end because I'm going to share 2 community rituals that instantly increase retention and make your members feel like they're part of something sacred. Let's dive in. So, there are going to be 3 things we talk about today in building a conscious cult: the mindset for building a community, 2 ways to launch a community, and how to market and sell a community. So let's talk about the mindset, the community builder mindset. And I don't think enough is said about this. So first off, you really need to have a mindset of devoting the next 10 years of your life to this. Communities are not a quick fix. They're not a get-rich-quick scheme. There's something that are sacred and require a devotion to, total commitment. And it's unlikely you will see instant results. It's likely it's going to take you years to really feel like things are moving fast. Are you willing to commit the next 10 years of your life to something like this? Because that's what's needed. Also, what's needed is just the power of consistency. I won't talk too much to that because it's pretty obvious. And another thing is, a community is not just a funnel. You know, it's a great way to bring people, invite people deeper into your world. But it's not a funnel, it's a sacred space. And when you see it that way, you see beyond the numbers, the revenue, and you see the actual people inside of the community. A community is built on relationship, it's built on connection. And a lot of people get confused actually what a community is. So let me just sidetrack here and share what a community is. A community is not your Instagram following. It's not your email list. It's not your YouTube following. A community only becomes a community when your people talk amongst themselves even when you're not there. So your email list, your Instagram followers unlikely speak to each other. A community is when there are connections built without you. And that's why relationships and people are at the heart of building a community. The next mindset is I don't need millions or even hundreds of thousands. I just need the right 100. The success of a community is built on depth, not width. Now imagine 100 of your ideal clients in a room. That's a lot of people, and you can build an incredible business with those 100 people. So quit the drive for going viral and getting loads of followers and focus on depth. Find your people, which we'll be talking about in way more depth in a bit. The next mindset is I'm building the thing I wish existed. It's the best advice I can give anyone on offer creation. Go create the thing that you wish existed. The ECC is a community I wish I had at the start of my journey. The Modern Man is the community I wish I had when I started my journey into men's work and my own personal growth. The next is I show up even when no one claps. The early days of building a community are pretty challenging. Fuck me, they're very challenging. I'm trying to be all polite here. They are incredibly challenging. You'll turn up and there'll be a handful of people, maybe 1 or 2 people on your calls. You'll post, encourage people to, share feedback or ask questions, and you'll hear nothing, just tumbleweed. And it's who you are in those moments that will determine the success of your community. I built a men's community, and men are traditionally hard to share. Like, they're traditionally not very vulnerable. So it took a lot of energy from me at the start to lead by example. And what I would say is, you have to turn up even when no one's clapping, no one's cheering you on. You have to just keep turning up, because it's your presence that will determine the success of a community, which is my final point here. It's my presence is the glue. So let's move on to 2 ways to launch a community. Now, there's probably more, but this is kind of what I've observed. Now, the first is building a community first and your offer second. The best example of this is CrossFit. CrossFit came about just by people sharing workouts online, and it took so much, and it got so much traction that they're like, hey, let's all get together at this ranch and do a workout. Again, that got so much traction that CrossFit was kind of born. But the community came first, and then they built offers around the community. Another example is Tribe, which are a nutrition bar in the UK. Again, they built their community first around ultra marathons, and then created a nutrition bar designed for ultra marathon runners on the back of it. An amazing example of building a community first and then the offer around it. Now, what I would say about building community first, offer second, is that they often happen by chance. They often happen from passion, from people just creating the offer they wish existed. And because there's no intention to make money from it, it's easier to sell. It's easier to grow in the initial days. But it does take a little bit more time. And if you have got time, if you have got revenue, if you have perhaps got backing, then yeah, building community first is a great option. Personally, I've always started with an offer first and built a community around that. Now, a great example of this is ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels have an incredible community called the Funnel Hackers. Now, the Funnel Hackers community came about as a result of the success of their offer. Now, the way I recommend doing this is what I call creating a product pyramid ecosystem. So let me just draw this out for you. There are 3 phases to building a community around the offer. The first phase is just starting with one-to-one coaching. I think far too many coaches jump to trying to build a community or build a group coaching program because they've heard it's the fastest and only way to scale. Now, don't get me wrong, having a community, which is what I'm sharing here, is amazingly profitable and it's amazingly fun and it frees your time. But there's no rush to this. Like, if you're a coach and it's your calling, you're in this for life. So slow down, and there's a real strength to mastering one-to-one coaching. You know, I've done thousands of hours of one-to-one coaching, and it's because I've done that I'm confident in coaching other people in front of others, which we'll get to in a bit. But starting off with one-to-one coaching, and that can be your very first community. It's how I started The Modern Man. It's how I started the ECC. I just pulled together my one-to-one clients in a WhatsApp group. It really was that simple. And we created rituals and certain things inside that WhatsApp group, which created this feeling of togetherness. And it was only a point where I thought there was something in this that I started to think about naming the community and growing and building this community. So start with one-to-one. And when you feel like you've found your people and you've also started to notice trends and patterns in getting your clients results, turn what you repeatedly say to your clients, your one-to-one clients, into online training, and then add in group calls. So now you have a value add to your one-to-one clients, but also a potential second product. So the community comes about from something you've already created. This is the benefit of working this way. So you know the way to get your one-to-one clients results. You can turn that into online content, plus add group coaching calls for your one-to-one clients. So your community already has momentum. There's already impetus there, and so less inertia to overcome to build your community, which is one of the biggest blockages to coaches I see launching a community or a group coaching program, starting from scratch. But here, you've got one-to-one clients in a community. you're getting them on calls or in-person events, it already has that momentum. So now you have two products. You have your one-to-one and your community. But the beauty is you only have to build things once. The online content is used for both your one-to-one clients and your community. Your group coaching calls, again, used for your one-to-one clients and your community. Build things once, sell it twice. Now, the final phase to this is what I call one-time offers. This is where you get to play. And for me, what I do is I think about what content, what workshops, what would be really useful to my clients and what would also be really fun to me. So these are things like in-person intensives, retreats, mini sprints, mini offers. So every November I run a in-person retreat, a little 3-month mastermind that starts with an in-person retreat. And that's a one-time offer that acts often as a lead magnet, as a front-end offer to our community or our one-to-one coaching. So I might run a sprint or I might run a workshop. But again, these are things that I'm already running for my community. So again, I build them once and I sell it multiple times. But often coaches run to this top level because they've heard, low ticket offers are the way to scale. Absolutely, they're an amazing way to scale. But right now, if you haven't mastered one-to-one coaching, if you haven't built a community around that, if you haven't got some online training that serves your one-to-one clients and your community, then this is just a waste of time. It's a distraction. So this is the order in which I would build a community and build around a community. Start with one-to-one, add the online training and the group coaching calls. That becomes a second offer in itself. And now you have one offer, 2 tiers, community and community plus one-to-one. And then finally, turn the one-time offers that you're running for your community into one-time offers. So let's talk now about how to build a conscious cult, how to market, how to sell a conscious cult. So at the heart of this is what I call the Authority Flywheel. And there are 3 parts to this: your transmission, your way, and your offer. Now, the way I think about this is your transmission is about connecting at the level of the heart. Your way is about connecting at the level of the head, the mind. That is not a tree, that's a brain. And finally, it also looks like a tree, connecting at the level of the hands, your offer. This is about giving people tangible ways to take action. So your transmission, your way, your offer. Now this really aligns with Aristotle's model for influence, which is ethos, pathos, logos. Ethos is about emotional resonance. Pathos is about shifting mindsets, shifting paradigm, creating paradigm shifts, and giving people a way, a path to the results. And then finally, logos, which is about the logistical side, the logical side. How does it actually work? So we've got these 3 main ways of building authority, because at the heart of building a conscious cult is about creating a movement that people want to jump onto, because people want connection, they want belonging, they want to feel like they're part of something, especially in today's age where people have never felt so alone in their life. And it's written in our DNA that we want to feel part of something. We are tribal beings. We want to feel part of something. So this is how we create a movement that people want to feel part of. So let's dive into your transmission. Now, at the heart of your transmission is what I call core identity embodiment. This is about who you are. Now, I believe that we all have 2 versions of ourselves. We have our shell self, who we are conditioned to think we are. This is, who we're told to behave, to be like, and usually present to the world. And then we have our core self. Our core self is who we truly are, our heart's calling, if you will. Now, I'm sure you've listened to someone who's communicating from the shell self level, and you just don't feel a resonance. You just don't buy into what they're saying. They may be saying all the right things, but just there isn't that resonance. But I'm also sure you've heard someone speak from their heart, speak from their core self, and maybe they didn't say the right things, but you just listened. You bought into what they were saying. That's the difference between communicating at the shell level or the core level. Because speaking at the core level, what essentially you're doing is you're speaking from subconscious to subconscious. This is why you follow certain people and just buy into everything they're saying, because there's this alignment with what they're saying and who they are. And we are masters at sensing that lack of alignment, I believe anyway. So the best way of building a movement is really becoming the movement. It's about embodying the desires your clients want. And I believe the best way of getting there is getting as close as you can to what I call your perfect average day. This is a concept I took from a guy called Frank Kern, who's a bit of a marketing legend. And it has worked time and time and time again. One of my clients, Len, this was basically the only change he did. He just started living his perfect average day. And he went from like sporadic 1 to 5K months to back 20K months because there was conviction in what he was saying. There was this alignment and a magnetism. This is what happens when you step into your core self. And as I say, the best way of stepping into your core self is start living your perfect average day. This is a day where there are no restrictions. You can't fail. There are no repercussions. And trust me, you're not going to say sipping pina colada in the Maldives because that would get insanely boring. This is a day you could live for the rest of your life. Really sit on this, because when you start getting closer to that day, things will start happening for you, because you'll start resonating and vibrating at a higher frequency, and you'll start to call in the things that also vibrate at that higher frequency. I've seen it for myself and see it for lots of clients. Now, let's talk about a more tactical thing, your stories. Your stories really are your power. I know that's totally cliche, but it really is true. And there are 3 stories that you really need to master telling, because again, this becomes your transmission. Think of Alex Hormozy, for example. We've all heard his story where Layla said, "I would sleep under a bridge for you." We've all heard that story. And it's a really powerful story because it builds empathy, it builds relatability, and he tells it time and time and time again, yet we still don't get bored. That's the power of an origin story. The second type of stories we need to tell are belief-shifting stories. The stories that completely shift the paradigm that you're in. And there are 3 types of belief-shifting stories. Stories that get people to buy into your vehicle, the way you work. Now, there are 3 belief-shifting stories that you need to master telling. Vehicle stories, internal stories, and external stories. Now, that's a video for a totally new day. And then finally, in the moment stories. Most content I see online right now is boring as fuck. Mine included sometime. I'm not immune to this. But the way I try and tell really engaging content is notice where I felt really strong emotion. Now, most of my clients are highly sensitive. And what I say to them is use that as your superpower, because sensitivity will allow you to see and notice what others miss, because that is truly what great content is built on, noticing. It's built on nuance. And we are so numb now to shit content that this is what's needed in today's world. It's real live stories. And the way to dig for these types of content is following strong emotions, because underneath strong emotions and feelings are deeply held beliefs. And that is what will get people to buy into your transmission. Now, finally, it's your personal brand. And this is something I learned from, I think, Dan Martell. And it's just a killer way to, share more of who you are. There are 4 parts to this. So the first part is your North Star. Now, think of Gary Vee. What's his North Star? Well, he wants to buy the New York Jets. Think of Elon Musk. What's his North Star? Well, he wants to put people on the moon. When you have a North Star that really drives you, that wakes you up, and there's so much passion in getting there, people buy into that journey with you. I share with my audience all the time. It's my vision, my goal to buy a plot of land, to have a load of chickens, to be planting my veg, to live off grid. I also want to build, multi-million pound coaching business. I want to live offline with an online business. That's what deeply drives me. And because of that, my people buy into me also. My people find me. Now, opposite to your North Star is your kryptonite. My kryptonite is peanut butter. I will literally eat it like yogurt. And guess what? Everyone in my community also loves peanut butter. Now, that's not because I don't let people into my community that don't eat peanut butter. It's just we have this resonance. We have this common joke around peanut butter, and sometimes people share recipes on peanut butter. Some people in my audience and my community hate peanut butter, but it builds, again, relatability. And it's a little funny thing that people buy into and buy into you. On the other side of that is passions. Now, who would have thought someone who is passionate about UFC, aliens, weed, and probably whiskey, and maybe consciousness, right, would be worth, I don't know, maybe billions now? Like, I know Spotify paid him 100 million, and this guy speaks on topics for 3 hours, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 hours. But that's the power of just owning your passions and your interests. So what I would recommend you do is try and find the crossover of where your passions and interests lie. So for me, I am super passionate about coaching. I am very spiritual and recently following sort of the Taoist path, so Taoism. I love dancing and embodiment. So that's kind of what makes me unique. Guess what? My people find me. This isn't about trying to be the best. This is about being different. This is about being you. This is about finding a niche where you're the only one. That's the power of owning your passions and your interests. Find that intersection and your people will find you. Now, opposite to that are quirks. And I think a great example of this is Ali Abdaal. Now, he's a bit quirky. He's a bit odd. And he doesn't hide it. He just owns it. And I think that's why he's worth what he is and why he's been so successful. Because he is a little weird. Fuck it. We're all weird. Own it. Now, the first part of shifting people's beliefs is, no shit, sharing your deeply held convictions. The best way of doing that is creating this feeling of us versus them. And I've done it here in this example. The elevated coaching way, we're about 10x versus 2x. We're about pulling, not pushing. We're about flow, not force. We're about heart over head. We're about being focused versus busy. We're about inspiring versus impressing. We're about empowering versus instructing. And I do lots of content around this because this is how people buy into your way of operating, buy into your way of being. Think of religions, think of Buddhism. Buddha didn't hold back, right? He owned his deeply held convictions, and he labeled them, right? The Eightfold Path, the Three Noble Truths. Like, he didn't hold back in his beliefs. He had so much conviction that he said the Three Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path. This is how you shift people's perspectives. You own your deeply held convictions. Keep digging for those. And it's not easy. This is about noticing. This is about sitting with. This isn't easy stuff. This requires a lot of contemplation, a lot of sitting with oneself. But yeah, absolutely, your deeply held convictions. And this is an amazing exercise, thinking about what are your strongly held convictions, or what are people that you think have it wrong? What are their deeply held convictions? And start throwing rocks at them. Are you against the toxic positivity or perhaps the toxic productivity? Are you against the 9-to-5 matrix? Like, find the people who you're against and think about their beliefs and think about the opposite, which will be your beliefs. Great way to get people bought into your way of seeing life. The second way is sharing big ideas. Now, if you think about some of the biggest creators online right now, they all own a certain word. If you think about Justin Welsh, to me, he owns the word solopreneur. Alex Hormozy, he owns the word scale in my mind. Matt Gray owns the word systems. Abraham Hicks, manifestation. Mel Robbins owns the 5-second rule. Gary Vee probably owns social media, right? And the reason is because they have built a bank of big ideas surrounding these. Now, the way to build and create ideas is observe. Again, more observing, more noticing, more sitting with, testing ideas and refining. Now, there's a couple of big ideas that in my audience, my community, they're constantly repeating back to me. For example, fear in fancy dress. This is an idea that kind of came to me one day, and I noticed when I used it, it kind of spoke to the tension people were feeling inside of themselves. And when I started hearing my audience and my community saying it back to me, I realized, there's something in this. So I started using it more and more and more. I've got things like client campaign, the Authority Flywheel, my weekly anchor. I've got so many big ideas. And the way I've got to them is by observing what works, noticing what works, testing certain language, then refining and doubling down. You only need a handful of big ideas and you'll start owning certain words. You'll start owning that real estate in your client's mind. And when you're the one who owns that real estate, you win that market. Alex Hormozi, for me, he wins the market around scale. If I want to scale, he's the person I go to. That's the power of big ideas and owning certain words. Again, think of Buddhism, right? These big ideas, the Eightfold Path, the Three Noble Truths. I'm pretty sure it's 3. Is it 3 or 4? But these are big ideas. I'm pretty sure Buddha must have watched this YouTube on my marketing. I'm almost certain. Anyway, let's move on. The final part of building, selling people and getting people to buy into your way of looking at things is creating what I call your unique framework of success. This is your mechanism. Again, Buddha has the Eightfold Path, and a lot of religions do. They have their mechanism to success, to the outcome they promise. Now, this is, again, what I call unique frameworks for success, the UFS. And often there are 3 parts to that, like what I've done with the Authority Flywheel. This is one of my unique mechanisms. And when you start becoming a master at creating unique framework of successes, you'll start to be known for your big ideas. And when you start to own those big ideas, as I said before, you'll start owning those words and that market in your client's mind, and you'll win the market. If you want to become a community creator, an authority, a leader, this is how you do it. You start building mechanisms. And again, this ain't easy stuff. For me, I get lots of A3 pieces of paper and I scribble, I tear up paper, I toil in my head, I sit on things, I let things percolate. I listen to people that oppose my point of view. I flex things out. I get really frustrated at times and want to run away and want to give up. But this is how you get to your unique framework for success, your unique mechanisms. And when you nail these, things will really start to change in your business. So now we've brought people into our way of thinking and we've shifted people's paradigms, belief systems. It's time to connect to the level of the hands, i.e. give them an action plan, give them a real tangible map that shows them how to get from where they are now to where they want to get to. Now, there's 3 parts of building this, your offer. The first is a dream outcome. Now, every great offer has a dream outcome that is future-based, is believable, and gives hope. That is at the center of building a movement. People jump into movements because it gives them hope. That's why being believable and being future self is central to this. Now, someone who has mastered this is Russell Brunson. If you think about ClickFunnels, the dream outcome of signing up to ClickFunnels is $1 million funnel, building that $1 million funnel and winning the 2 Comma Club. And his slogan of "you're just one funnel away" is probably one of the best marketing slogans out there because it talks directly to the aspiration of the client. I'm just one funnel away from a 2 Comma Club, from 7 figures. P.S. You're not, by the way. But it's amazing marketing and it's worth acknowledging that, right? As I say here, which is actually taken from his book, he's a master marketer, so it'd be rude not to acknowledge that. But he says, fear of the future causes us to lean against and cling to the present, while faith in the future renders us perceptive to change. When we feel hopeful, we're perceptive to change. Think about the last time that you signed up to a new nutrition plan or diet plan or exercise plan. Think of the excitement that you felt signing up to it, right? Because there was this new hope inside of you. There was this this time is different. That's the power of really getting people bought in to a believable future-based outcome that feels possible. The second key component of building a successful offer is creating this idea of an identity shift. creating an aspirational identity and naming it. So for example, inside of the ECC, we're called heart-led coaches. I call that out. Are you a heart-led coach? The Modern Man membership, which is my previous community, again, it speaks directly to this aspirational identity, the modern man. Now, someone who nails this is a guy called Hamza. And he creates this real feeling of, I want to become what he calls an Adonis. So he's created this aspirational identity that people want to become. Again, Russell Brunson, he calls his audience, his tribe, his movement, funnel hackers. Again, it creates this feeling of, immediately get a picture of who you would become if you became a funnel hacker. Another one is Lady Boss, who I think's, making 8-9 figures a year. And again, that name, Lady Boss, creates this feeling of, I want to become that. When you add that to something like a manifesto, you get people to buy into this identity shift. Now, I want to just watch a quick video by Hamza, who talks about this Adonis character, and you'll see why it works so well.
So long, but he just can't muster up the courage to speak to her. He stares at her in class every single day. What do you think happens next? She gets a boyfriend. Jeffrey's so upset he should have just talked to her. Adonis. Adonis understands women just like Pakistan. I'm tired of you doing.
So he has this fictional character called Kevin or Keith. Yeah, Keith. And, no one wants to be Keith, right? And he really creates a picture of the pain of being a Keith. And then he presents this new fictional aspirational identity of the Adonis, who's jacked, who, gets all the women, who's successful. Love it or hate it, it's pretty cringe, but my word, is it incredible marketing, because it creates this tension. You don't want to be a Kenneth, you want to be an Adonis. You want to create this identity shift, this aspirational identity of who you become, once you join this movement, this community, this conscious cult that you've built. And at the heart of that is, your core values. So again, when someone signs up to the ECC, which I'll talk about in a bit, I talk about the core values of being an ECC. Things like we choose flow over force, life first over business first. That's really, really important. And that's how you attract your people. You get clear on your core values and you embody them, and you make sure this aspirational identity also speaks and embodies these core values. Now, this aspirational identity is often you. That's why at the start we talked about embodying your core identity. It all starts there. If you're not embodying who your audience want to become, there's really no point. We need to start there. Now, the final part is your results. Now, there's a great book called Building a Story Brand, which basically talks about making your audience the hero of the story, not you. You're the guide. And the way we do that is by sharing case studies and client stories. And by doing that, your audience will put themselves in the stories themselves, and it will build trust and authority and start again. And by doing that, your audience will put themselves in the story itself, building trust and authority. So that's the building a conscious cult formula. And it's made up of 3 core elements. Firstly, your transmission. This is who you are. It connects with people at the level of the heart, emotionally, energetically. Then there's your way. This is your unique beliefs, your philosophy, and how you get people results. This connects at the level of the mind, and it shifts how people think. And then thirdly, your offer. This is the clear path to the promised land, and it connects at the level of the hands. So people can trust that you can take them from where they are now to where they want to go. Now, remember those 2 rituals I teased earlier. These are the glue that keep people around, and they're super simple and 2 of many. But ritual 1 is the Friday wins thread, where every week we celebrate progress, no matter how small, and it just turns success into a habit and makes growth feel normal. Ritual 2 is the onboarding portal, the onboarding process where new members agree to your manifesto and get it tattooed on their back. Seriously, it just creates buy-in, and it builds a culture of self-led clients who are really here to embody the work and not depend on you. All right, so now it is time to choose your adventure, and there are 3 options. Option 1, join my email list, the Tao of Coaching, where I share ancient wisdom and modern systems for coaches who want to flow scale. And the first emails of this are basically a free MBA in building a coaching business that I probably should charge for, and the links for that are below. Option 2, and if you're anything like me, this is going to be your option, because this is for those that want to skip the guesswork and get fast-track results whilst being surrounded by other high-performing, heart-led coaches. If that's you, then I invite you into the Elevated Coaching Collective, where not only we will help you map out your vision and your strategy, we'll actually build this whole system for you. Your CRM, your email sequences, your automations, your booking flows, everything. Just DM me the letters HLC and I'll send over the details. No sales calls needed. Option 3, comment more if you want me to break down how to actually run a conscious cult where clients stay with you for years. Now, this was really fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next one.